Hello, I'm Chuck Rockage with Henley Construction. I'm here to talk about some safety topics that we come across on our job sites. The first topic I'm going to talk about is extension cords and ground fault circuit interrupters, or known as GFI. One of the most common problems that we see on the job sites for safety issues and violations have to do with extension cords and protecting the workers. So the first most vital important part of that is the ground fault circuit interrupter. OSHA says that anytime you use an extension cord, it is considered temporary power. It's important to realize that anytime you have temporary power, you have to have a ground fault circuit interrupter. Here's an example of a pigtail one. It has your plug-in end that needs to go to the power source. One of the common problems that we see with this is people will want to use this three-way pigtail to get more extension cords. So they'll plug a 25, a 50, or 100-foot cord into a power source, plug this in at the end, and plug 3 more extension cords. Problem with that is this protects the worker, not the tool. It only protects you from this box out. So this needs to be plugged into the power source. When this trips, it'll protect everything on this side. If we do it the other way with an extension cord on this end, if the problem is in this end back to the power source, then you do not protect the worker. It'll only trip if there's an issue after the GFI. That's the reason this has to go into the power source. Again, anytime there's temporary power, we have to use a GFI. GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter, GFI, is what everybody calls it in the field. We need to make sure this is used. This has a test and a reset button. When you plug this into the wall, you want to trip it with the test button to make sure that the power on this end to your tool is tripping out and this is working correctly. Then you can reset it and continue to use it. The test, and it shows that the power was off, and when you reset it, that the power is back on. Manufacturer's instructions are on the tags that come on all cords. We just want to make sure we follow that. So to inspect this prior to use, before we plug it in, we want to make sure that this ground pin is here. Without the ground pin, it will not trip. It will not trip back to the ground. So we need to make sure that you have your hot, your neutral, and your ground pin all in here. If it does not, we need to roll it up, duct tape, zip tie, some type of tag that says out of service, do not use, and then remove it from the job site by the end of that day. The only repair that can be made to the GFI itself is on this end. At the power source end, a qualified electrician can put a new plug end onto it. Other than that, if it doesn't work, it's trash. Okay. The next part of this component is your extension cord. The extension cord also comes with the manufacturer's instructions. One of the things that we'll see a lot on our safety reports is daisy chaining of extension cords, which basically means you're plugging one extension cord into another. This cord is made with the gauge of wire and the length to handle the load per the manufacturer. When you plug more extension cords into each other, with the daisy chaining, that can cause for more power to go through by the tool than the cord is able to handle. So the longer the cord, the heavier the gauge the wire would have to be. So what that can cause is that to heat up and catch fire. So that is why you cannot plug more than one cord into another. Same thing with this. We'll want to check it before each use. We'll want to check and make sure that the plug end is good. Again, this can be replaced as the male plug end is a repair that can be made, and the female end is a repair that can be made by a qualified electrician. Anything else cannot be repaired on an extension cord. Once we know that this is good, we'll pull this through at the beginning of every shift and make sure that there's no damage to it. If there is any damage, the only thing that needs to be done is it's taken out of service the same way as with the GFI. Rolled up, tagged out of service, do not use. If OSHA was to come on site for an inspection and find this cord with a missing ground pin, whether it's in your toolbox that's open or whether it's laying around the job site, it's a violation. If this cord is rolled up and tagged out of service, do not use, it is not eligible for them to hit you with a violation for it. That is the reason it's important to tag these cords out of service. Again, anything damage-wise in this cord, let's say there's a nick in this, if you put electrical tape over it, it's a violation. You would have to send this off to an independent agency to have it tested to make sure that the insulation wraps of the electrical tape matches the original insulation value of the extension cord. And that costs then upwards of $1,800 to have that test. So we do not want to send off every extension cord to check to verify that it's okay. The only repair that can be made here is this cord can be made shorter, because this is your male end. If the nick is here, I can cut this, put a female end here, a male end here, as long as the rest of the cord is good. Extension cords can be no longer than 100 feet. You have to have temporary power supply on a job site within 100 feet of a worker. So if you have an extension cord that is 50 feet, you can't plug two to make 100 feet, because then that would be daisy chaining. So you want to have a 100-foot extension cord on the job site for your worker, and then your worker will plug in, and he can never be outside the limits of the 100 feet per worker. I'm going to open this up for questions. A very good question. We talked about being able to plug 3 into the GFCI. So that is an extension of the power outlet, and on the GFCI you can plug up to 3 how it's designed. There's other ones where there's just 1. This is the only thing you can plug into. And to your point, very good question, very good point. This has 3. We can only plug tools. We can never plug another extension cord into another, and that comes on this tag that's on here from the manufacturer, where it says do not plug one extension cord into another. So that is where they find you. In subpart K, where they talk about following the manufacturer's instructions, that is where that is listed. So you're correct. We can only plug power tools into this, not another extension cord. The quick and easy answer to that question is yes, they need to stay on there. The problem is that these get worn off and things of that nature. We are going to add an appendix to our safety manual with different forms. One of the forms that we are in the process of adding is a copy of this, so that if that ever comes up in the Henley safety manual, you can flip to the appendix or the attachment page, and there will be a copy of a manufacturer's recommendations for the extension cord and the GFI.